It's Rice Forever, and you are watching thegreenscenetv.com.
Hi, I'm Brent Green, and welcome to another great episode of The Green Scene. Today's guest is an activist for the Justice for Alan Blueford Coalition.
GreenSceneTV.com. Justice for Alan Blueford.
So with the most recent events in the media, many of us are familiar with the Trayvon Martin case. Well, today we're going to make you familiar with a local case of the same type. Granted, this isn't verdant or a fun subject, but it is urban and pertains to youth culture. So we're here with Mollie Costello from the Justice for Alan Blueford Coalition. And today, she's going to tell us more and fill us in on some of the community activist type things that are going on, and also the work that her coalition are doing in terms of Alan Blueford. So Mollie, for our viewers who aren't aware and don't know, and most of them aren't local, who is Alan Blueford?
Alan Blueford, he was a young man who had a mom and dad who loved him. He had a whole community, aunts, uncles, cousins. He was an 18-year-old young man who last year, May 6th of 2012, was basically racially profiled by an OPD officer named Miguel Masso. And Alan was out shortly after midnight on the streets of East Oakland with his friends, and they were waiting for some girls to come pick him up.
So you mentioned just a second ago Miguel Masso. Who exactly is Miguel Masso?
Brent, that's a great question. He is currently an OPD officer working out of the Eastmont Mall station that's out in East Oakland. And that is the station where he was working out of when Alan Blueford was murdered last year on May 6th. Miguel Masso, in the process of murdering Alan, did in fact shoot himself in the foot. He lied about it and claimed that Alan shot him in the foot, but forensic reports show that Alan did not fire a gun, and ballistics reports show that Miguel Masso, this OPD officer, shot himself in the foot.
That kind of reminds me, I'm sorry, that kind of reminds me of the video that's been going around the webs for a really long time of the cop that shoots himself in the foot in the classroom. Has anyone seen that?
I have seen that, and I mean, it's a travesty of justice.
So speaking of travesties of justice, tell us about the political landscape and how it led up to all of this stuff, starting with the Oscar Grant case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of connections between Oscar and Alan. And, you know, aside from just the obvious, which is their skin color and that they were both racially profiled by violent racist police, there are...
Well, are we sure, though? I'm sorry to interject this. I just want to add this in here for viewers' sake. Are we certain that things like this are happening because of people's skin color?
Yes. Yes, we are. And, you know, what it is, Brent, is that we're a country that was founded on racism. I mean, the truth of the matter is America was founded on the backs of slaves. And slaves they were our initial capital.
Well, now that we're on the subject of slavery, what do we have to say to people who say that the original slaves were Irish and of, let's just say their skin color was light?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't really know much about the original Irish slaves, so I'm not an expert to speak about that. I do know that right now, except for over in Ireland, I don't know about a lot of Irish people here in America being racially profiled and hunted down like dogs in the street by murdering cops.
Justice for Alan Blueford.
Getting back to your original question, I did get a little segue there about slavery and such like that. But getting back to your original question about, what is the political landscape? What is kind of the culture in America? And I'm going to have to say right now, I'm saying America with 3 Ks and not a C. You know what I mean? America. Because really, that is the America that we live in. And so that's kind of what I'm leading to when I'm talking about getting to the political culture. What we're really talking about is getting to the culture in America where they have created an us and them mentality. And again, this comes back from the plantation, back from the times of slavery, where it was important for it to be okay to completely oppress another race, which was people who had skin more your color instead of mine. And it was okay to completely oppress a race and to enslave them. And so we had to create an us and them mentality, which has been maintained till now because that's still very important. It's still very important to have that fear created in the minds of Americans. We need to have this us and them.
Fear here being, I think, the key word. I've seen a statistic on the interwebs about how often or how many minutes or how often a black person is killed by the police in cold blood. Do you know that statistic?
I do. When I first started doing this anti-police brutality work, which was, full-time when Alan was murdered. I'm actually a nurse, a registered nurse. I was a hospice nurse taking care of dying people was what I used to do. And when I found out, on the day actually that Alan was murdered, something changed, something happened, and I started doing this work full-time. I left being a nurse, and what I found out then was that every 36 hours, a black man is killed by law enforcement in America. And now, that figure has changed from every 36 hours to every 28 hours, Brent. That's a true fact.
Every 28 hours? So in one of the videos of you all's protests on YouTube, I noticed that you all were being handled rather roughly by the sheriff's department. Can you tell us, our viewers, why you think that you all weren't allowed to peacefully assemble?
Yes, I can, Brent. That was an action that we were doing. I think the date was March 5th, but it was an action at the Alameda County Courthouse. And the sheriffs you're speaking of are, of course, the Alameda County Sheriff's officers. And we were gathered there to do a peaceful sit-in. I do really want to emphasize peaceful sit-in on behalf of Alan Blueford. And our demands were that because the DA, that's DA Nancy O'Malley, had ruled with no investigation other than what OPD put into this. Again, OPD investigated themselves on this. Yeah, again, I'm not making this up, Brent. You think I'm making this up. I'm not.
Well, the word that comes to my mind is ludicrous.
Yeah, ludicrous. And so OPD investigated themselves and this basically handed their report to DA Nancy O'Malley, who said, looks good to me, and ruled it a, quote, justifiable homicide, which if you look at these cases all across the nation of our young black and brown men being killed by police officers, sponsored by the state, paid for by our tax dollars. If you look at this, DAs across the nation rule the same thing, which is justifiable homicide. And this is, again, back to that travesty of justice.
You being a community activist and also a member of the community, and not only a member of the community, but a very productive member of the community, what can you tell us that the global community can do to combat these types of behaviors?
I think one of the biggest thing, Brent, and this is, why I'm really happy that you have me here today, is, don't stay silent about these things. Don't stay silent and don't stay isolated. What I heard, I was just down in Anaheim on July 21st, which was the 1-year anniversary of Manuel Diaz being murdered by Anaheim police. And his story is really similar to Alan's. I can tell it in about a sentence. He ran away from police while being a young brown man. He was a Latino who, down in Anaheim was racially profiled by the police. He ran and was murdered. Same thing as Alan. So, Brent, once again, I got lost in, it happens.
Yes, it happens.
I got lost in my train of thought, but I want to succinctly answer your question about what can we do statewide, locally, statewide, nationwide, and globally to, hope to help combat things like what happened to Alan Blueford, like what happened to Oscar Grant, like what happened to the young, to Manuel Diaz, who I just got, lost talking about. What we can do is what we just did down in Anaheim on the 1-year anniversary of Manuel Diaz's murder by Anaheim Police Department, by Anaheim police officer. What we can do is join together, not stay silent, not turn a blind eye as looking at this as somebody else's pain, as somebody else's problem, as an isolated incident. These incidents are not isolated, they are linked together, and what we did down in Anaheim was come together as 35 families from across California, from Stockton to Manteca to Oakland to LA to Anaheim. We all came together, 35 families, and shared our connected struggles. We amplified and magnified our message, and that's what people can do, is to stop thinking in an us and them mentality and to realize that we are all our brothers and sisters keepers.
We're going to get into one of the more popular subjects going on Twitter, which is, it seems that everyone's going in on Don Lemon about his most recent comments. And so I'm just going to ask you just one question from his, his little, I guess he had 5 bullet points. But one of his bullet points was that the African American community needs to pull their pants up. So I ask you, do you think that saggy pants could actually save someone's life in that situation?
Could saggy pants save someone's life in that situation?
Well, I think
I certainly don't think that it should be a reason for ending their life, and I think Don Lemon needs to check himself before he wrecks himself.
So now we've gotten to the art piece of the week. And today's art piece of the week is by Wonder. Yeah, big shout out to you, buddy. This clearly is called Town Business. Yeah, right here under my chin there. You see that? Town Business. You can purchase this piece at Chopsticks, buddy, for $2.50. Feel free to give us a call or send us a letter. So in closing, Molly, the big question is, what does the Justice for Alan Blueford Coalition do, and where they can find you all?
Well, what we do is keep up the pressure on OPD, as well as City Council, as well as DA O'Malley, as well as Attorney General Kamala Harris. We keep up the pressure on all of these people, our local and statewide officials, to fire Miguel Masso and prosecute him for the murder of Alan Blueford. And where they can find us is at www.justice4alanblueford, and that's 4, like the number 4 here, justice4alanblueford.org. And we also have meetings open to the public every other Saturday. That's a little tricky, so I'm going to ask you to check our website that I just gave you to check where we are, where and when we meet. It's 11 o'clock every other Saturday at the SEIU Labor Hall, but there's 2 of them, so check the website because we switch back and forth, but y'all are welcome. Justice for Alan Blueford and fuck the police.
I did have one last question I wanted to ask you, since we're all nice and pumped up and on our way out the door. Do you have any shout-outs?
I have a shout-out to Alan's parents, Geraldine and Adam. I love you, my brother and sister. Peace.
It's from my OG graph, Krylon Canners. Fuck Hannah Montana, Canna Montana. With your New York fat cap when you bomb. You the face shit, but your name lives on. Boxcar sessions. The police follow the trail of the ink spill from your crink bottles with your etch markers. Your style's wet, but you still feel good adding letters to your alphabet. And that's a true craftsman. Tell me, what class were you last in when you learned how to pen like that? You mad fat at it. And mad addict just like how I'm a mad addict to breaking down mics. and busting down beats like blunts all day and all night, yo. I don't bomb, but I still can relate. I live it every day and I feel it where I stay, cause I'm from where the fat beats stretch for mad blocks, from my cap to my sneaks, my fit and tube socks. Little dudes and little mamas was raised on hip-hop and the roads that it paved, swearing at the next Tupac's Lil Wayne, but you need to read about all the back in the day OGs in the game and the dues that they paid. Hip-hop ain't dead, it just lives where I stay.
So this wraps our shoot. Remember, friends, to keep it verdant, urban, and fun. This is Brent Green for theGreenSceneTV.com.
GreenSceneTV.com.
Oakland, California, biatch.